Okay, now we had a look at carbohydrates. Now we're going to move along to insulin. All right, everyone still awake? Yeah, okay, good. All right, so we're going to have a look at insulin, what insulin response is. All right, now insulin, we all hear about insulin, but can anybody tell me what insulin is? I heard something. Yeah, go on.
It's a substance which normalizes blood sugar.
That's good. Yeah, anyone else? Okay, that's good. So we're going to have a look at insulin now and how it responds to carbohydrate. Okay, so first off, we have our foods, our carbohydrates namely. Now they're all rated on a GI scale from 0 to 100. Now we have our high GI carbohydrates, and they're mainly your sugars, mainly your processed foods. They're going to be high in GI. And they're going to sit around from about, say, 75 to 100 somewhere, with I think high fructose corn syrup being at the highest. And when those kind of sugars, they're classified and they're called a monosaccharide, all right? Singular, easy to break down, just one of them, yeah? Saccharide means sugar, so single sugar, all right? So it's very easy for your liver to break that down straight into the bloodstream. Actually, glucose is at 100, all right? So your liver doesn't even have to process it, it's just straight in there. Your glucose is at 100. So coming to your medium-high GI, now you're starting to look at something that's a little bit more natural, but it's still a high GI. Now it's around, say, 70, 60 to about, say, 75, somewhere around that. Now we've got our fruit, our corn, our milk. Now they're known as disaccharides, all right? A little bit more complex, but still quite simple all the same, and they're going to break down and enter your bloodstream quite quickly. Now we're getting to medium and medium-low carbohydrates. Now these are the ones that you want. So we have your basmati rice, which sits at something like a 54 in a rating, all right? You have your oats, you have your sweet potato, and I want to bring your attention to barley. Now barley, as a grain or a carbohydrate, a choice of carbohydrate, comes in at only 22. Yeah, it's rated at a GI of 22, all right? So that's a choice you want to have if you want a slow-burning carbohydrate. These are known as polysaccharides, and these are your complex carbohydrates. All right, these are the kind of carbohydrates you should be eating. Now, you also have your fiber and your vegetables. All right, now your vegetables, they don't have, they're known as a carbohydrate. Your fiber is known as a carbohydrate, but it doesn't hold much carbohydrate in it. All right, so sometimes, and it's arguable that the fiber, because it acts like a sponge and it's so hard for your metabolism to drag it back out, it's so hard to process that fiber, that sometimes it takes more energy to process that fiber than the actual, more energy than it actually gives you. Now these are known as oligosaccharides, and they're even more complex. Now those medium and low GI carbohydrates are the ones you want, yeah? You can't get fat on them. Now carbohydrates can be found as different types of saccharides. Your high ones, now they're going to have a release from the liver. Now they're going to flood your liver at a fast rate. And your complex saccharides, your complex carbohydrates, they're going to have a steady release into your bloodstream. And the GI scale, that measures the release of glucose into the liver, into the bloodstream from your liver. All right? So you hear about GI, you're going to know that your liver is supplying your bloodstream at a certain rate. So we have glucose. It's going to enter our bloodstream, whether it comes fast or whether it comes slow. Now, for every molecule of glucose, your pancreas is going to secrete a molecule of insulin to match it. All right? So for every glucose release, you're going to have an insulin response. Now, when they're in the bloodstream, they're going to bind together, yeah? They're brother and sister. Now, I didn't show that to you before because I wanted to bring your attention to carbohydrates, but I'm showing you now. All right, so the insulin was always there. So when they're in the bloodstream, they move along together like brother and sister, and they bind together. So that pancreas, your pancreas is going to respond to your GI of food. So if you release glucose steadily into the system, you're going to have what's known as a steady insulin response. they're going to bond together steadily, and steadily they're going to flood the bloodstream. So you're going to have a steady blood sugar. That's going to transport its way to the muscle and try and store to your muscle steadily. Now on the flip side, you put in a high carbohydrate, you're going to get a lot of glycogen just flooding that bloodstream, and to respond to that, you're going to get a lot of insulin flooding the bloodstream. They're going to bond together quite quickly, and they're going to flood the bloodstream quickly. All right, and that's known as a high insulin response.